Interesting and unknown facts in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's novels. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's novels, especially the Sherlock Holmes series, are rich with hidden, interesting, and lesser-known facts. Here are a few intriguing details. Sherlock's cocaine use. In some of the stories, Sherlock Holmes is depicted as using cocaine. This aspect of his character is not widely known, as it is not always emphasized in adaptations. Holmes mentions his use of a 7% solution of cocaine to stimulate his mind, reflecting the historical context and the lack of awareness about the potential dangers of drug use during Doyle's time. The original, The Hound of the Baskervilles, The Hound of the Baskervilles, was originally published in the Strand magazine in serialized form. The public's response was so overwhelming that it led to a demand for the return of Sherlock Holmes, who had seemingly met his end at the Reichenbach Falls in The Final Problem. Doyle eventually wrote stories set before Holmes' apparent death, and The Hound of the Baskervilles is one such prequel, Professor Moriarty's limited appearances. Although Professor Moriarty is often considered Sherlock Holmes' arch-nemesis, he appears in only 2 of Doyle's stories, The Final Problem and The Valley of Fear. Despite the limited appearances, Moriarty's influence and reputation cast a long shadow over the Holmes stories. Sherlock's musical talent. Sherlock Holmes is depicted as a skilled violinist in the stories. He plays the violin when he is thinking or trying to solve a complex case. This musical talent is not as prominent in adaptations but adds depth to his character. Holmes' knowledge gaps. Despite his incredible deductive skills, Holmes admits to having gaps in his knowledge, especially when it comes to topics that are not relevant to his work. For instance, he is not familiar with basic astronomical facts in A Study in Scarlet. Holmes' disguises. Holmes is known for his adept use of disguises, but the extent of his disguises and the techniques he employs are not always fully explored in adaptations. In some cases, he successfully fools even his close associates, showcasing his mastery of the art of disguise. Dr. Watson's wound. Dr. John Watson, Holmes's loyal friend and chronicler, is depicted as having been wounded in the leg during his military service in Afghanistan. This detail is often overlooked in adaptations, but it adds depth to Watson's character and serves as a reminder of his past experiences. Sherlock's beekeeping hobby. In His Last Bow, it is revealed that in his retirement, Sherlock Holmes took up beekeeping on the Sussex Downs. This lesser-known fact showcases a more domestic side of Holmes, emphasizing his need for intellectual stimulation even outside the realm of detective work. The Adventure of the Speckled Band, a medical mystery. The Adventure of the Speckled Band is often considered one of Doyle's best works, but what makes it particularly interesting is that it revolves around a medical mystery. The deadly speckled band turns out to be a venomous snake, cleverly used as a murder weapon. This story combines elements of detective work with a touch of the macabre. Holmes' Code of Ethics. Sherlock Holmes is portrayed as a man of strict moral principles. In The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle, he insists on finding the true owner of a lost hat and returning it before moving on to the main case. This showcases Holmes' commitment to justice, even in seemingly trivial matters. Holmes' knowledge of literature. Holmes is well versed in literature, and his references to various works of fiction and poetry demonstrate his wide-ranging intellectual interests. In The Musgrave Ritual, he quotes lines from Samuel Taylor Coleridge's poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, showcasing his literary depth. The Sign of Four, Watson's romance. The Sign of Four not only introduces the character of Mary Morstan but also explores Dr. Watson's romantic side. Watson becomes enamored with Mary, leading to his eventual proposal. This aspect of Watson's life is sometimes overshadowed in adaptations that focus primarily on Holmes. Holmes' knowledge of chemistry. Holmes' knowledge of chemistry is evident in various stories, emphasizing his scientific approach to solving crimes. In The Adventure of the Engineer's Thumb, he identifies various chemical substances, showcasing his expertise in this field. The Lost World, beyond Sherlock Holmes. While not a Sherlock Holmes story, Arthur Conan Doyle's novel, The Lost World, is a fascinating adventure tale featuring Professor Challenger. This work explores the theme of prehistoric life and is a departure from Doyle's more famous detective stories. Holmes' relationship with Irene Adler. A Scandal in Bohemia introduces Irene Adler, often considered the only woman to have outwitted Sherlock Holmes. While their relationship is not romantic in the traditional sense, Holmes holds Adler in high regard for her intelligence and cleverness, and this respect is a unique aspect of Holmes' character. Holmes' scientific approach. Holmes is often regarded as one of the first fictional detectives to apply a scientific method to solving crimes. His emphasis on logical reasoning, forensic evidence, and deductive reasoning set him apart. In The Adventure of the Dancing Men, Holmes deciphers a complex code using his analytical skills, showcasing the scientific aspect of his investigative approach. Watson's writing career. Dr. John Watson, in addition to being a loyal friend and companion to Holmes, is portrayed as a writer. He chronicles many of Holmes' cases, turning them into narratives for publication. Watson's role as a storyteller adds a metafictional layer to the stories, as readers are presented with a filtered account of Holmes' adventures through Watson's perspective. Holmes' views on women. Holmes' views on women can be complex and sometimes controversial. In A Scandal in Bohemia, he famously remarks, "The woman," referring to Irene Adler, with both admiration and acknowledgement of her cleverness. Holmes' interactions with female characters throughout the stories provide insight into his attitudes towards women in the context of the time. Holmes' aversion to public recognition. Holmes is not interested in public acclaim for his detective work. In The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle, he mentions his aversion to receiving credit for solving cases that don't involve serious crimes. This aspect of his character sets him apart from the more flamboyant detectives in literature. The Adventure of the Six Napoleons, Art and Crime. This story revolves around the smashing of plaster busts of Napoleon Bonaparte. The seemingly trivial crime becomes more complex as Holmes uncovers the motive behind the destruction. The tale explores the intersection of art, crime, and human nature uniquely. Holmes' boxing skills. Holmes is portrayed as having some proficiency in boxing. In The Sign of Four, he mentions that he trained as a pugilist. This physical skill comes in handy in various situations, highlighting Holmes' well-rounded abilities beyond his intellectual prowess. The Adventure of the Engineer's Thumb, Industrial Themes. This story involves elements of the Industrial Revolution, with themes of technology and engineering. The tale delves into the challenges and dangers of emerging technologies of the time, offering a snapshot of the societal changes occurring during the late 19th century. Holmes' mastery of observation. Holmes's extraordinary observational skills are a hallmark of his character. In The Adventure of the Cardboard Box, he demonstrates his ability to deduce intricate details about a person's life and habits based solely on visual clues. This story emphasizes the depth of Holmes' powers of observation. The Adventure of the Yellow Face, Themes of Prejudice. This story touches on themes of racial prejudice and societal expectations. Holmes solves the mystery of the yellow face with empathy and understanding, showcasing a more compassionate side to his character as he unravels the complexities of human relationships. Holmes' unconventional methods. Holmes is known for his unconventional investigative methods. In The Adventure of the Priory School, he uses a dog to track a scent and solve the case. This willingness to employ unorthodox approaches sets him apart from other fictional detectives of his time. Watson's second marriage. In The Sign of Four, Watson mentions his first wife, Mary Morstan. However, in The Adventure of the Blanched Soldier, it is revealed that she passed away. Watson eventually remarries, and his second wife is mentioned in various stories, but her character is not as prominently featured as Mary. The Adventure of the Naval Treaty, Espionage and Diplomacy. This story incorporates elements of international espionage and diplomatic relations. Holmes is called upon to recover a stolen naval treaty, introducing readers to the geopolitical concerns of the time. The narrative expands beyond the confines of a traditional detective story. Holmes' deerstalker hat and pipe. The iconic image of Sherlock Holmes wearing a deerstalker hat and smoking a pipe is not as prevalent in the original stories as it is in popular culture. The specific mention of these items in the canon is limited, and Holmes is described more often wearing a variety of hats. The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle, Christmas setting. This story is set during the Christmas season, making it one of the few Holmes tales with a holiday backdrop. The festive setting adds a unique charm to the narrative and showcases Holmes' ability to solve mysteries regardless of the time of year. Holmes' knowledge of ciphers. Holmes displays a keen understanding of ciphers and codes in several stories. In The Adventure of the Bruce Partington Plans, he successfully deciphers a code crucial to solving the case, highlighting his expertise in cryptography. The Adventure of the Sussex Vampire, Family Dynamics. This story explores themes of family dynamics and inheritance. Holmes is called upon to investigate a case involving a potential vampire, and in doing so, he uncovers hidden familial tensions and motives. The narrative delves into the complexities of inheritance and relationships. These additional details from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's works further illuminate the depth and diversity of the characters and narratives within the Sherlock Holmes canon. Each story brings forth unique themes, challenges, and facets of the detective duo's lives.